Hello, I'm Kim Sauer at IPC Apex 2017 in San Diego, and I'm joined by John Mitchell from the IPC. John, great to see you here. Now it's the last day of the show. Let's review the show a little bit. I was
Sure.
at the keynote.
Yes.
Very interesting keynote.
Mayim Bialik.
Mayim Bialik. So everybody knows her as Big Bang Theory, but she's a neuroscientist.
She is a neuroscientist.
Brought a lot of, a different take on the industry. So give us a little bit of flavor there.
So Mayim was a little bit different keynote than what we've had in the past, which was great. Although, well, I guess we've had other TV personalities as well. So she talked a little bit about what it was like to be what most of our audience is, an engineer, or a scientist in today's world, and how that's actually getting to be a little bit more popular and acceptable, and her show's helping with that. So it's one of the great things about things that shows like The Big Bang Theory are doing is it's allowing a group of the population who maybe hasn't necessarily been heard from feel comfortable and be known. I mean, it's kind of funny, and I'm rambling here a little bit, so forgive me, but my old friends from high school, they're like, man, I wish I was growing up in today's age, because I loved comic books and Dungeons and Dragons and science back then, and I was an outcast, and now they're today's heroes, and everybody's like, oh, I know all about these comics. So it's just, the world's changed, and that's a good thing, because as we talk about education and getting people involved in manufacturing today is a high-tech job. It's a high-skilled job. And so the skills agenda, STEM activities, things like that are very important.
And one of the things I took from it, which came across very strongly, was she had a lack of mentors or people that inspired her around her early on in her life.
That's right.
And then she found I think it was her biology teacher.
She had a tutor that came and said basically, look, you can do this, which is great.
And to me, that reflects a little bit what the IPC are doing. So you need to have somebody to look up to show you the passion, to show you the way, I suppose. Sure. And a lot of what the IPC stands for is exactly that. It's that central meeting point where people connect, people can find other people with the similar interests. So let's talk about the IPC and some of the things you've been discussing here at the show and how you're rolling those out globally. So what's the update there?
So let me break it into three categories. So standards. First, obviously we have a big standards activity presence here at the show as well with the committee meetings. We've launched two of our major standards here recently, the 620, the cable and wire harness standard, and the 771121. Later this year, 001 and 610 will be coming out, so that's very exciting. Dovetailing into that, you have on the education front, our traditional education form has been in the certification space. Traditionally, our certification programs have come out 5 or 6 months after the standard. We're compressing that. We're trying to make sure, in fact, the 620, which just came out this month, I think, we've already finished the beta testing of this, so we anticipate that coming out next month. And so, again, getting the training and the education piece out there earlier. In addition to that, beyond just the traditional certification stuff, last year we launched IPC Edge, and this is trying to meet the needs of our members in that we're trying to provide a drink when you can drink type of education, as opposed to having to, stop work, as you will. And one of the pieces of that online education system, IPC Edge, is ESD training. We've partnered with the ESD Association, so now you can get third-party certified ESD certification at a very, very low cost. In fact, typically we find it cheaper than what people can do it in-house, which is, that's why we're here. We're trying to lower their costs, and it also works for things like ISO certification because it's a third-party recognized certification. And then on the advocacy front, you may have noticed there's some interesting political things that happened in 2016. I don't know, maybe something called Brexit or the Trump administration, and you've got elections happening in Germany and France here coming up very soon. So the it's changing. And so we have, from our advocacy efforts, a couple of fly-ins. We did our first European Impact fly-in last year. We'll do another one this year on October 10th. And then we're doing one in D.C. as well. For these are where we ask executives to come in to meet with policymakers so that they can hear what the issues really are. And the DC one should also be very interesting. We are hoping for a great turnout there. We see some positives in some of these changes. I always look for the positive, right? So the U.S. business tax code is that my understanding is the second worst in the world in terms of trying to run a business here. We are hopeful for some reform there to make it more enticing for businesses. That'll help our members here. Similarly, regulations, there's a lot of duplicit and burdensome regulations there. We see some of that possibly changing. On the whole tariff issue and immigration, we're going to have some work on the U.S. front to do on that front, but that's why we need to get there and let the administration hear us.
So really driving the change within the broader changes that are happening within the world for the industry.
I haven't ever encountered a political group that is 100% aligned with all of what we need for the industry, so we take what we can and try to change what we don't like necessarily. So that's why we're there.
And briefly, as a last question, you're also stepping up and being much closer to your members and involving them in gaining their voice as to the direction that the IPC should take.
Yeah, it's called Pulse of the Industry, and so we're reaching out to our industry to give them a kind of a quarterly dashboard reflecting their voice in a sanitized way, so there's not giving away any secrets per se, but this way we'll give a better insights of how the industry is working in their particular segments, et cetera. So we're excited about that. That's a new program we're starting up this year.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.